been waiting for this moment for a long, long time. Welcome into our debut of Perseverance Live, one of the most memorable moments of your week. Hopefully, I might be a little bit ambitious in that, but that's what this show is all about. Ordinary people sharing their extraordinary stories to help educate and inspire the world. I'm your host, Vera Jones, and tonight, our very first guest on our very first show of Perseverance Live is actually our very first Perseverance Speakers Academy speaker, but he's so much more than that. Please welcome into the studio, Demetris Nichols. He is a former Syracuse University men's basketball standout, graduated in 2007, led the league in scoring, I believe, towards the end of his senior year. Second round draft pick in the NBA, went to Portland. European League, he led the league in 3-point field goal percentage there at 57%. He's a sharp shooter, but a smooth talker. And we have him here tonight. Welcome to the studio, Demetris.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's a thrill to have you here. Haven't seen you for a while, so just to get everybody caught up.
It's been a while. Yeah. You don't call, you don't write. What's up?
You're big time now. You're big time. I don't know what else to do. You're big time. Just want to give a shout out to everybody that's viewing on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Anita Skipper, I see you. If you all want to throw your name or a hello or whatever into the chat towards the end of our broadcast, we're going to take some questions for Mr. Demetris Nichols. You are going to learn some amazing things about this young man. I can still call him a young man, even though I'm still a young person.
Yes, forever young.
You're going to learn a lot about this gentleman. I want to start with just give us a shout out. You're in New York now, but originally from Boston, correct?
Yes. Originally from Roxbury, Dorchester area. Grew up, just an average kid trying to make something out of himself,
Yeah, well, I would say you did a really, really good job. And what is interesting about what we do here at the Perseverance Speakers Academy and what this show is all about, if you're just tuning in, and thank you, by the way, it's an opportunity, just as I said, for ordinary people, what we would call ordinary, that are doing extraordinary things. And we get to get into their lives from the back of it, seeing what it takes to persevere, how you overcome major obstacles to go on and do something of great significance, and find your purpose in life. And so that's what we do. And it's just been such an honor to know Demetris, because he came to me last summer and just was looking for a mentor and a coach. This man is an amazing broadcaster in his own right. He's still a diamond in the rough there. But he had a very, very interesting background story. And rather than kill your thunder just yet, Demetris, I'd love for you to kind of go into that story just a little bit. But I think, to be fair to the audience, those that don't know you, because we do have some people here that do, they will remember that you walked us into this amazing story by asking us all, do you remember, to stand up and say our names?
I do remember that. That was like the intro to my speech. So that was a good intro for, to start my story.
Yes, and we were all like, stand up, stand up. So I want to take you inside of that. You were just beginning to reveal to us that you were playing your very first sport, which was?
It wasn't basketball. It was actually football.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was funny because I didn't like sports at a young age, because like I said, I was just trying to get through the day, but I knew I needed something to keep me busy and, keep me out of trouble, keep me focused and locked in. And I didn't realize how tall I was, but football was my first sport though.
How tall are you now? You're like 6'7", 6'8"? How tall?
6'7.5", 6'8",
right, go ahead.
Whatever you want to call it.
So you're rocking your heels. You're 6'8".
Well, exactly. You my loafers. I ain't rocking no heels.
Okay, all right. Well, you weren't back in my days in the 70s and 80s for platform heels.
No. No.
But it was an amazing setup, and I just want to share the setup a little bit with the folks that are out there. Were privy to your story and how you walked us into your perseverance story.
In fact, I hate talking at this point. I get to the huddle, and before I can even think, the quarterback asks me, "What's the play?" Now, you remember I asked everyone to stand up and tell me their names, right? I did that exercise because for me, saying my name wasn't that easy. I had a severe stuttering disorder. Severe. Growing up, I realized I wasn't like all the other kids in my family. They spoke freely, confidently, and not having to worry about their speech. But whenever I would speak, I would freeze. I would mumble. I would repeat the same word over and over and over again. And sometimes the words just wouldn't come out. Now I'm in a situation where all eyes are on me. And the quarterback asks again, "What's the play?" At this point in time, I realized that my teammates don't know that I have a speech impediment. I think my mother forgot to tell the coach that I have a stutter. Mind you, I just joined the team a couple of weeks ago. The quarterback asked me again. Around this time, he asked me with a little bass in his voice, "Hey, man, yo, what's the play? The clock is ticking. What are you doing? We're waiting on you." So I take another deep breath and give it a shot. The play is, as I get more nervous, it's harder for me to even speak. The play is, it happened again. I was devastated, embarrassed, and ashamed.
Wow. Wow. You took us there. It was such an amazing story. And I loved how you just set it up. Wasn't, a lot of people didn't see that coming. You had a severe stutter as a child, and this carried on how long?
Probably into my 30s. It took me a long time. I'll say probably after college, while I was a professional playing basketball. It took me a long time to really get over that hump. But ever since I could remember, I had to stutter. I have family who stutter on both sides of my family, on my mother's side and my father's side. So I got hit with both jabs.
Oh my goodness!
But I was so I was able to just reprogram my mind. And as a kid, I always felt like an outsider. I always felt like people looked at me funny. I always felt like I was different. I was tall. Big ears. I wasn't good in sports. And I couldn't talk. So it was just all odds were against me. And I just continued to work on it. And I knew that I was different. And I knew that I had something in me to change my focus, change my mindset, and reprogram my mind. And that's what I have done in so many other avenues in my life, not just stuttering, but just reprogramming and really focusing on what's most important and spending time with myself, spending time with my thoughts, spending time with that spirit inside you, that little voice in our head that tells us that we can do anything that we put our minds to.
So if you were to describe your childhood, how would you describe it? What other obstacles did you have to overcome?
Well, it was tough. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. You had to fight for what you wanted. You had to earn everything. And I just, basketball, it didn't come as natural to me as other guys. Like I said, that's why I played football, because I didn't know what to play. I just wanted to get out the house. But, not being able to communicate with people was a challenge because, you grow up with your cousins and your friends and you see them talking normal. But whenever I would speak, I would freeze, kind of like what I said in my video. I would freeze, I would mumble, and I would just, sometimes I would just be a mute. But like I said, I knew I had more. I knew there was more in me, and I didn't want to be labeled that type of person. I wanted to use my challenges to motivate me, to strengthen me, to change my story. And that's, and that's what I decided to do. It was a choice for me to change, change my DNA, I guess you can say.
How did basketball help you do that?
Basketball became my best friend. Basketball became my best friend. I remember going to the gym and, my peers would laugh at me, not just because I used to stutter, but, I wasn't that good. So I would get picked last, or sometimes I wouldn't even get picked. So I would just watch, and I would watch them play up and down the court. But even though the negativity or people would say that I couldn't do it, or they said, oh, well, I was tall for nothing and I would never make it to college playing basketball, something in me, in my mind, told me that I could do anything, and I kept going back to the gym. I kept, shooting shots. I kept believing in myself. And I believe we all have a voice inside of us that says that we can and says that we can't. And I always try to lean towards the voice that says that I can. And I've always had that skill, even when I was younger, knowing right from wrong, trying to be the best person that I can be. And lo and behold, I end up passing all the guys who used to make fun of me back home. I end up passing all of them, Yeah, exactly. So I don't even, so I let my play speak for itself. And it just shows that anything is possible, because I was a normal kid, like I said, just trying to find its way, trying to do the right thing. And I found basketball, which saved my life. And it became my best friend, and basketball, you don't got to talk, you don't really got to talk when you play ball. Well, in the beginning, you don't have to talk, but once you get to a certain level, you got to start, competing verbally.
Sure.
And I realized, I started asking myself questions. Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? And how am I going to get there? I knew I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to be something. I knew I wanted to play basketball at the time, but how? And my how was the biggest challenge.
Was it because, when you say your how, was it because of the fact that you had a stutter? Do you think that lent itself to you being a lot more reserved, not confident? Is that why
sure.
you were kind of slow developing in basketball?
But then
it changed for you.
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't confident at all when I was younger. I was, I just imagine not being able to communicate with your cousins or go out to the park and communicate with friends, go to school, communicate with friends. I remember there was a couple of times when I was in school where right before the teacher would call on me to raise my hand. So right before the teacher would call on me to read in front of the class, I would raise my hand and go to the bathroom. And I would walk the halls, all through the halls until the bell rung. But I knew eventually that would come. I knew eventually that would come back to me, because you can't hide the truth. And eventually I was gonna have to fight that person. And that person, I mean stuttering, because stuttering was my bully for a long time. It was a bully. It was a shadow behind me. It was a thought process. It was, it basically controlled my life, and I wanted to stand up to that bully and really, say that I'm in charge and I can do anything that I put my mind to. But it takes a lot of focus, a lot of belief in yourself, a lot of practice, a lot of repetition, a little bit of everything. As a kid, I didn't grow up with both parents, so I had to develop my confidence with that little voice in my head. I met my dad, in a pizza shop. So I didn't have that male role model to give me that confidence. I mean, I had a couple of people when I was younger, like my uncle, some of my cousins, but for the most part, we got to find that strength inside of us. And that's what I always try to search for.
Wow. So I would imagine that has impacted you. I want to get to the part of how you ended up going from stuttering to now being a sports broadcaster, a speaker. You played in the NBA. You went all the way over into Europe where you had to speak a whole nother language, which I guess
Yeah.
probably was cool for you because you could just go, oh, I don't speak the language.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't speak the language, right?
But
So
see, but like for me, going overseas was probably the best thing for me because I had to learn how to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Mind you, like you go into a country where no one speaks English, different food, different people, the time difference is everything is different. And I had to communicate with people who didn't understand me and I didn't understand them. But it I think it helped me in a lot of ways, but I've always challenged myself and it's always been in the back of my mind. It's like, hey, like I want to be able to speak. I want to be able to look at somebody in the eye and have a conversation. I want to be able to change my story. I had every reason to give up. I had every reason from not being good in school, from not being good in sports, being fatherless. Just I had a list of things to blame, but instead I try to use my challenges to strengthen me and to motivate me and to change my story and empower, influence, motivate others because I know everybody has a story. Everyone has a story, and this is mine.
And yours is amazing. I mean, I sit and I think about this. And what we have in common is you go orange, except I don't know.
Oh yeah, Q's all day.
Houston game.
It's all right. Listen,
we were like this.
We overachieved twice this year. I'm not worried about Syracuse. We overachieved.
That's right. So. We can never, ever, ever turn our back on the orange. But what's amazing to me, having been to Syracuse University and knowing what it takes academically, knowing what it takes athletically, here you are coming from the situation that you spoke of. First of all, how did you even get to Syracuse University on a full scholarship, let alone then be drafted second round in the NBA? Talk about your basketball journey a little bit.
You know, well, high school, I was able to get to a boarding school called St. Andrews in Rhode Island. And I was behind academically. And they basically told me, you should go home and just finish. You should go home, finish high school where you're from. You know, you're too far behind academically. And, you know, that was one of my challenges was, look, this is the best opportunity that I have to make something out of myself. So I was willing to do whatever, anything possible, coming early, staying late, asking questions, doing extra work, learning, starting from scratch, basically, and really locking in on my academics. And that confidence transferred over to basketball, on the basketball court. I had a great coach, Michael Hart and John O'Shea, and they taught me the fundamentals of basketball. Every single morning, I would get up at 5 o'clock and work on my game for 4 years. Every single day for 4 years, I would get up at 5, work on my game for 2 hours, go back to my dorm, take a shower, go to my classes. After class, after school, you know, we'll practice. And also, I played on the AAU team, the Tim Thomas Players out of New Jersey. And doing well both of those teams, I just continue to grow. You know, like it's kind of like building a house from scratch. You got to get the foundation down. You got to build it brick by brick. And eventually, if you plant a seed or you plant a brick by brick, eventually you can build a house. And that's what I did. I just continue to work, and that focus, that determination transferred over to college. But I realized once I got on campus, this is a whole nother level.
Yeah.
It was a whole nother level. And I still had my speech impediment. So now I was comfortable for 4 years in this high school. Everyone knew me. It was a small school. Now I go to a university plus 30,000 people, and I have to adapt again. So it's another situation where I have to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. I've been in an uncomfortable situation my whole life with this speech impediment. So it was just another challenge for me. And in college, I was immature. No, not immature, but I was physically immature. I was skinny. I was
Uh-huh.
like 175 wet with boots on. It was,
Yeah. Me
I
too.
was
Me too.
thin.
Yeah, me
I
too.
was thin. So, and another challenge, I sat the first 15 games of my freshman year.
Yeah.
And I remember going home and crying every night, wanting to transfer. Mind you, add that to my stuttering. So now I really feel like an outsider. I don't know what's going on. But
Yeah.
like we talked about, that voice, my why, and where I came from. I had every opportunity, had every chance to blame someone or something. But something in me just said, control what you can control. And that was coming early, staying late, doing the extra stuff, doing stuff that you don't want to do. But if you want something bad enough, you will
Yeah.
do anything in your power to do it and to get it. And, I was fighting for something bigger. I was fighting
Yeah.
for communication skills. I was fighting to be someone, not just on the court, but off the court. And then I just continued to just get my opportunity. And I ended up getting a starting spot after one of my teammates got in trouble. And the rest is history. And I just continued to build and grow.
And then you went on, and like I said, like you said, the rest was history. An NBA career, 9 years in the Euro League, and leading that league in 3-point percentage. So you definitely got your basketball game together. On the flip side, we're going to take a quick promotional break, but we'll come back and we'll see how you put all of that together and how all of those challenges led you to become the mental giant as a motivational speaker. We'll be right back. Reasons that we're here. Hey, it's Coach Vera Jones with the top 10 ways to know you should become a professional speaker. Number 1, you see or hear professional speakers and you say, I could do that. Number 2, you see or hear professional speakers and you say, I want to do that. Number 3, other people tell you you need to do that. Number 4, you already speak often in your workplace or your community. Number 5, you love telling stories and genuinely enjoy people. Number 6, you have a passion or calling for inspiring, uplifting, or educating others. Number 7, you know a lot about a thing or two. Number 8, you know a thing or two about a lot. Number 9, you're naturally charismatic or just have an influential presence in front of people. And number 10, you watch this video long enough to hear all 10 reasons of what you probably already know. It's time. Visit me, psvera.com. If you're serious and don't need any more reasons, let's talk about getting you started as a paid professional speaker. And so you don't need any more reasons. You found your reasons. You found your reasons. For those of you that are just joining us, we're speaking with Demetris Nichols, former Syracuse University standout, NBA player, EuroLeague player, and now a motivational speaker. One of the very first proud graduate of the Perseverance Speakers Academy. So it just gives me so much honor to have you here. And so welcome everybody that is in. Thank you for sticking around with us. We'll be taking questions in a few moments, but first, you've got all of that adversity that's going on from childhood, what you have described as pretty much your entire life, feeling like you had obstacles to overcome, these many battles that were even going on in your head. But it was in your head that you talked about where you found that peace, where you found the meditation, where you grew. And you speak from a platform now in terms of mindset and of being a mental giant. For people out there who are struggling, people who are out there that don't have that belief in themselves, they don't know their purpose, they're frustrated. How can they become mental giants in your estimation? What helped you overcome all of your obstacles?
I would say three words to continue to search for is who, the what, and the how. Who do you want to be? How are you going to get there? And what do you want to do? So I'm a firm believer of writing and journaling. So I journal almost every day. I visualize every day. I meditate. I try to meditate every day. And those things help me see things totally different. Actually, those things give me the answers to my questions. And so I would say those three things: the who, the what, the how. Become in tune with your thoughts and become in tune with your thinking and how you're thinking and what you're thinking about. And if what you're thinking about is not what you want in your life, then you have to continue to reprogram your mind. It's like waking up and taking a shower, brushing your teeth every single day. Every single day, you have to push yourself to work on the mental side of your life. And once you continue to build that muscle, everything else would start to flow, and the answers to your questions are going to be right there in front of you.
There was another part of your speech that really just captivated me, and you talked about, and I think this is important because there are people. I'm a firm believer that a lot of us, whether we like it or not, find our purpose through our pain. I have on many occasions, right? And you talked about that one, and I think we all can kind of point to that one turning point where it turned, where your mental giant woke up. Take us there. I have to go there. In that dungeon, in that basement.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the basement right now, so this reminds me of where I was, but it motivates me. So I was homeless at one point, and it was me, my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, now my wife now, and my daughter. And I remember walking down the basement in my mother-in-law's house because we couldn't afford a house of our own. And I remember walking down, it felt like the walk of death. And I remember my daughter being on the bed, and something came over me. And I said, Gabby, Daddy's going to get us out of this situation. And she looked at me like, you better. And ever since that day, it motivates me to stay focused and lock in every single day and find my purpose. And part of my purpose is to be an example for my children and let them know that anything is possible if they put their minds to it. But in that basement, I was low, I was down. But in the back of my mind, I kept hearing this voice. You've been here before. You know what to do. You've been through challenges your whole life. Use this as motivation. Use this as strength. And once I did that, this was actually, I didn't even want to play basketball at one point. This is when I was really I was in the basement mentally because, I wanted to play against Kobe every night. Yeah. And I didn't want to go overseas, but I had to make a decision. And I found the strength, I found the motivation. I ended up getting a call from my agent, getting an opportunity to play in Europe. And I started off making, $50K a year. And I continued to, but I told myself, I'm not going to go overseas and be an average player. Like, that's not what I want to do. I want to be one of the best. So I reprogrammed my mind again and say, all right, how am I going to do this? What do I have to do every single night while I'm on the court to get me seen by people who I want to see me, the best teams in Europe. And I work my way up the ranks and I end up being on the #1 team in Europe out of Moscow. And the first year on that team, I led the whole Euro League in scoring. And that was part of my story, is starting from the bottom, and now I'm here. So like I said, anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And I'm living proof of that.
Yeah. And you weren't making 50K anymore either.
No, I wasn't making 50K.
The 7 figures rolled in shortly after that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you started leading the league. Yeah. That's a beautiful story. I think you've empowered so many people today with your story. And I think one of the biggest things about learning to become a motivational speaker, an inspirational speaker, is a lot of people don't feel this sense of, so you go through this imposter syndrome. You know, I'm not good enough. You know, I'm not an
Hmm.
expert. No one wants to hear my story.
Yeah.
Did you ever struggle with that? Because to me, it seemed like you knew that your voice mattered, would make a difference to some young man's life or someone's life. What is it that drove you to say, now it's time for me to open up and use my voice and become a motivational speaker?
Vera, I struggled with that my whole life. I've been waiting for this moment. This is my moment. This is my moment to share my story, to inspire, to motivate, to encourage people, to let people know that everyone has a story. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has ups and downs, but it's not what you go through, it's what you do about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
we all have we all have things, but
right.
we also have that voice in our head that says that we can, that we
Yeah,
will, that we must, and we
yeah,
have to continue to work that muscle. It's just like going to the weight room, you know, trying to get big, trying to get buff, and you have to train your mind that way. And that's why I spend time with myself. That's why I journal, visualize, and I really lock in on what I'm thinking. Every step that I take is towards my goal. So if it's not something that is going to help me go or push me towards my goal, then I don't want nothing to do with it. And that's been my motivation, because life is short. So I want to be here, and I feel like I'm here for a reason.
mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
just to, you know, I mean, I played basketball, but, you know, basketball is only 15% of my life. I still have, 85% left. And I want to share that, encouraging people, not just athletes, but mothers, brothers, families,
Yeah.
athletes, whatever, just to hear a good story and get that spark again.
Well, you have inspired quite a few people. I've got some comments here. Nita Skipper, I hear that. She says
I
she'll
hear
never hear
that.
the Reason song the same way again. We've got some great comments, and what I'd love to do is be able to take some of those questions. If you have them, go ahead, whether you're on Facebook Live or if you are watching us from YouTube Live. Your questions are welcome. Demetris is kind enough to stick around for an extra 5 or 10 minutes, but I will just go ahead and say this. If you are indeed one of these people and have been inspired by Demetris' story, and you might have a story as well, just understand that perseverance is in every one of us. The faith, the focus, and the fortitude that are necessary to overcome sometimes just require someone to help you get through it. Remember that although, yes, my name is Vera, and Vera is stuck in the middle of perseverance. It's stuck there for a reason, not because I'm okay, a little bit because I'm self-absorbed, but actually Vera means faith and it means truth. In the middle of your struggle, you have to have faith that you can get through it. And I believe that Demetris Nichols has epitomized that today, which is why I was so happy to have him on as our very first speaker, our very first guest on Perseverance Live, so that he could inspire and educate the world how to overcome obstacles and be the mental giant. So happy that you were here with us today, Demetris. Any final thoughts, though, in terms of if you had a particular group to speak to? I know you want to inspire everyone, but
Mhm.
who do you speak to specifically, and what is your message for them?
I speak to everyone. I speak to everyone who has a heart. I speak to everyone who goes through things, who have challenges, who wants to continue to get better and not comfortable where they are. I feel like we all have an extra gear,
Yeah,
and it's my job to push myself, but also push others, especially my daughters, to find that extra gear within
yeah,
themselves and just continue to just go. Just go and stretch. Anything is possible. As I'm speaking to you right now, Vera, I am overachieving. As I'm talking
yeah.
to you right now, I'm doing something that people said I couldn't do.
Woo! You
So
even
anything
majored.
is
You majored in communications, correct?
that's
Speech
that's why I
communication.
went. Speech communication was my major at Syracuse because I told myself, look, I'm not gonna go to Syracuse and not graduate, one, and not being able to learn something. And I knew my weakness. I knew my weakness was speaking, and that was part of my reason of going to Syracuse, not just for basketball purposes, but I knew Syracuse had the best communication school in the world and still does to this day. And I wanted to make something out of myself, not just on the court, but off the court. And I'm so happy that I chose the University of Syracuse because it changed my life in so many different ways.
All right, as we get ready to bounce off, and then we'll take a few questions. Just what's the hardest part? You went and you said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go and get myself a coach. You can go ahead and pick on me. What was the hardest thing you went through? What's the hardest thing I'm going to do? And it can't possibly be as hard as overcoming a stutter. So
I remember because I'm a laid back guy. You know, I'm cool, calm. I don't need too much. And you kind of helped me break out of my own shell and express to me that it's okay to be you, be emotional, or get your point across and use your words as power and as motivation. And I think all I needed was that push, someone to believe in me, because no one knew what I was doing. I think in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to know how to speak, and I wanted to speak in front of people because it's been a dream of mine since I could remember. Yeah. And like I said, as I'm talking to you now, it's a decision, it's a choice, because there's still that part of me, or that part of me, my DNA. Oh, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you won't do that. Nah, I'm a mental giant.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna stop because you told me to, or this person told me to, or that little voice in my head told me to. That's why I continue to push myself. I continue to find that edge. Continue to find it, especially in these COVID times. It's so important to get in tune with our minds.
Yeah, that's what COVID did for us. Absolutely. You've been an absolutely outstanding first guest, premier guest. Just as you were an outstanding student, you are an outstanding representation of what we are doing at the Perseverance Speakers Academy. And I'm so very, very happy for your career, that you are touching and motivating, particularly young people's lives, because I know that there are a lot of young men who look just like you, who hurt like you, who need to experience the world the way you did, coming up and persevering and pushing through. Where can people find you? There are people out there going right now going, we need this man to come to my church, my school, my whatever, and speak. Where can they find you on social media?
They can find me at Nichols _ Demetris on Twitter. And I also have a Instagram name called D5 Fundamentals. I do a bunch of basketball videos from time to time. Or you can just email me at DemetrisTNichols.com@gmail.com.
All right. And you can always come through the Perseverance Academy. If you are out there and you are saying, you know what? I think I want to tell my story. Please feel free to reach out to us at ps-vera.com. That's ps-vera.com. Would love to give you an absolutely free consultation. We'll talk to you. The beauty of what we're doing with the Academy is that we're a family. And so we kind of stick together. And so it's good to be in good company with other people who are learning to go out and be purposeful in the world and share their story. And again, Demetris, I can't say enough how much it matters to me that you're here and you're doing what you're doing, because your story is absolutely amazing. If you don't believe me, you can just look into the chat.
And you don't think my story is amazing. Your story is amazing too. So I'm looking forward to hearing your story again too. You have an amazing story. Well, so your story actually motivated me.
Well, awesome. And that's how it works, right? Because we all need each other. So What kind of things do you do today to use your purpose to help others is one of the questions that came through.
Give out information. You know, I think the best thing people can give to someone else instead of giving somebody a gift or giving somebody some money, the best thing you can give somebody is information. Give them a book to read. Give them a quote to look at. Ask questions, get to know that person and see and listen to their story. Every person I come in contact with, I try to smile. I try to be friendly and genuine because you never know who you're going to meet. And me stuttering for so long, listen, I want to talk as much as I can.
You gotta get out all the words that you couldn't get out then. You got to get them out now. I got to play catch up.
I am overdue. So whoever want to, whoever want to talk, I'm here. So.
Well, Scott Molesky asked a question. He's an SU alum as well. Go Orange.
Okay,
What was your greatest challenge at SU?
Coming off the bench. So, all right, I got two. Coming off the bench, sitting 15 games in a row, getting my spot taken away from me from one of my good friends my junior year, getting it back. Told myself I would never let anyone take my spot again. And off the court will be speaking because I had because my major was speech communication. I had to speak in front of my classmates, and I remember the stares, the laughs, the long pauses, and I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up, but something in me said that. Pressure makes diamonds, and most of us succeed when our backs are up against the wall. Yeah. And my back was up against the wall, and I had to fight my way out of it. And that's the only way you could get through something is just going through it and doing the necessary things, habits, so you can build that muscle and continue to get stronger and stronger.
Well, I'm glad you didn't give up. I think there's a bunch of people here that are glad that you didn't give up. You kept pushing forward, and now you are in the world as a motivational speaker. Please reach out to Demetris Nichols when you're looking for that mental giant and when you're looking for an opportunity to expand your career on any level. I always am here to coach. That is how I want to extend my service. So please reach out to me at ps-vera.com. That's it for our very first episode of Perseverance Live. We will not be back next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, we will be right back in gear. And then hopefully every Wednesday after that. If this is something you like, please share. We want to be an inspiration as much as possible to as many people as possible, getting into the lives of those who are ordinary, but have learned to share their extraordinary story can help change lives. Remember, in the middle of perseverance, there is Vera, which means faith. I'm Vera Jones. That's Demetris Nichols. Thank you all for being here. And I guess this is how we say goodbye. Great seeing you again. And thank you so much for being here, Demetris.
I'll see you next time, V. Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah. You didn't give a shout out to Stacy. You better shout out your wife and your children.
Oh yeah. Shout out to my wife, my two beautiful daughters, Gabrielle and Sydney. They upstairs right now, actually, probably watching.
I'm still saving.
Us live. So, I mean, like that's why you're the teacher and I'm the student. That's all it is. I'm still saving
you because it's gonna be a rough night. You ain't all right. God bless you all. Have a great night. We'll catch you not the next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. We'll be back with a very special treat on trials and trauma. Yeah, that's a good one. See you next time, Demetris.
See you. was solid.